That's great. There's been as you know, there's been a slightly smaller group of participants, and while I was initially a little bummed about that, hoping that Mahipal would have success in filling actually now that I've had it, because I've been to many of these, as you know, the fact that we had lesser participants actually increased the camaraderie and the tightness of the group. So there's almost a seamlessness between the participants and the instructors. You kind of lost a sense of these are the instructors and these are the participants, which has been the case in previous ones. So that's been a really positive thing, and there hasn't been any deficits of participants being sort of not of the right spirit or the right mindset. So it's just been a really good explorative group, and a lot of good core questions and peripheral questions, things brought up on the side, and sort of little experimental questions going off to the, especially in between the workshops, people would continue talking about things like that. So, so on the level of just study and sharing of information, it's been great. It's been on par with the other workshops I've done. Well, certainly made some great friends, which is always positive. I think the Katori Shinohoru guys were great, and I've studied Kenjutsu before, so the information wasn't new to me, but the more subtle aspects, talking about the cultural background, the historical background, that was super interesting, and the teacher is tremendous, and to my benefit, his school is a mile from my house. So I've already made plans to go and see him on Wednesday evening when I get back, and probably start training with him. But Eric Naus last night, he and I kind of paired up for his workshop, and I've enjoyed his workshop. I enjoyed his presence in my workshop the previous evening. There's just been so many good things, and again, mostly the offside stuff between me and the other instructors, many of whom are friends of mine. So, but because they're either all the way up here in Northern California or across the country, we don't get to see each other very much. So that's been a positive thing, sort of increase our closeness as friends and colleagues. So. Well, some of the teachers are getting on in years, so it may be the last time or close to the last time that we get to see them. And for those of us who aren't quite so old and are still actively teaching, we get to pick the brains of those guys. And there's an old saying, not that anybody's going to die today, but there's an old saying that when an elderly person dies, a library burns to the ground. And that's sort of how I feel with regard to, I'll just call it martial knowledge, that oftentimes, even though that person may have been teaching for decades, there are little bits and pieces that they never really give out in a normal class environment. But when teachers get together and they're communicating with each other and asking questions that normal students wouldn't ask, those little tidbits get passed on. So it kind of keeps a lot of the older stuff alive, and that's my job as a teacher is to keep the bloodline going, as we call it. So I think that's, for me, that's what I would nail it down to be.